Hi, everyone. Mike White here. Welcome to this week's vlog post. Another solid week. We've seen purchase and refinance applications go higher week over week. That's always a good sign. Activity is pretty robust in a lot of the country, and based upon the people that I'm speaking to, we're really seeing really solid activity levels. People coming into the market wanting to buy houses. We still have, in certain areas, a lot of pressure with more buyers out there than there are sellers out there. Parts of the country we're seeing, significant uh, situations where people are bidding more than asking price, going over by 5 to 10% in some cases, where just a few months ago before Thanksgiving and right through the holidays, we were seeing people able to get sellers concessions and all sorts of negotiated prices. And again, it just goes to show that the drive for home ownership is always there for people. It's what stops them from moving forward, which is where we often run into trouble. And where we've talked before and where we see some trouble in the marketplace is, and we've talked about that. We talked about it before Thanksgiving, going through December. We repeatedly about speaking to our people and our referral partners and making sure they knew buying a house in November and December and getting out in front of it before, January, February, March, when more people came in after the first of the year. And many people did, and they're very happy that they did, because we're still seeing, pretty strong appreciation. But a lot of people didn't, and they didn't for a simple reason: is there was so much hype out there about lower interest rates, and we're going to see lower rates and 5%, potentially 4%, whatever it was. It was all going to happen, and we went through the whole housing bubble thing last year that didn't materialize. Well, at the end of the year, the big social media expert environment, if you will, was out there talking about, how interest rates were going to go down and we were going to see really low rates again and blah, blah, blah. And what happened is a lot of those people saw that and saw where we were in the interest rate environment, and they heard words like 5%, 4%, whatever it was. And they started talking about, okay, and the Fed's going to start cutting rates, and, by the end of the year, and all these things were happening at the same time. Prices on real estate continued to rise. And we talked about that a little in the past. And what people don't realize is, lower rates, when they happen, if they happen, how far, whatever, none of that stuff is a guarantee. And what I've tried to share with my clients and with many of you here is the fact that, we were focused on the emotion of a number, where what your rate was, as opposed to what our payment could be, and what it was based upon where we were and what the price of that house was going to be and how did we make that happen. Because what was happening and what has happened is the fact that, while people were waiting for rates to go down, and yes, they have come down a little bit since last fall for sure, we haven't seen the 5%, 4% numbers, and I don't know whether we get there or we don't, but it's certainly not in the near future, especially given the CPI numbers that we have, the PPI numbers that we're going to get today, along with unemployment. If the market does move and if rates go significantly lower than we are today, it's not going to happen today. It's not going to happen tomorrow. We've seen the market, not responding the way a lot of people predicted that it would. The inflation is still proving to be very stubborn, and the Fed is not going to move until they're comfortable moving. So what people have not paid attention to while they were looking at the emotional part of the interest rate, they really weren't looking at their payment, and they certainly weren't looking at the price of the houses. And so unfortunately, people got put off on buying a house, and now they've watched those prices go higher in hopes of bagging themselves a lower rate. And fortunately for some people, they know people that have listened and know people that I work with who have said to them, hey, the price is here, the payment is something you can live with. Let's get your deal done now before the price goes any higher. If rates do go lower, if we do see 5% or 4%, whatever, be happy to refinance you then to get yourself a lower payment. But at least you get into the house and that house doesn't appreciate against you anymore. It appreciates for you as we go forward. The other portion to that is if rates don't go down, then you're forced with watching the price of that house rise as they have risen. And again, we're still seeing 5-6% property appreciations. It's simple math. Work it out. We talked about that last week. How much can you afford to lose waiting? And so it's a win-win-win. If you got into that house now, if you get into that house on a payment that you can deal with at a price that you can manage, getting into that house now, you win. You know what the price is, you lock in that price, you know what your payment is, you lock in that payment. Well, why is that important? Well, if rates go lower, like I said, we could refinance and lower that payment. But what if prices don't go lower? And they're not. So prices are going higher, at least you got into a house and you're benefiting from the equity growth, from the price growth. If rates do go lower, you can refinance and again, lower that payment. But if they don't, and prices continue to go higher, you're going to have to borrow more money or make higher payments or put more money down to get into that house. And worse, what if rates don't go lower and they don't stay the same? And what if they go higher? And now you've got prices going higher and you've got rates going higher, and it becomes a very slippery slope, to do this. And that's why I've always said, if you're going to buy a house, buy the house. The long-term effect is the fact that if you can afford the house, you lock in the price, the price appreciation is yours to keep. If rates go lower, you can always refinance. In fact, most of my clients provide options for their people where there's a low cost or a no cost refinance down the road if rates go lower for existing clients. And so they're happy to do it. They want to keep that business. They want you to be happy. They want you to benefit from the market. And so you get into the house, you lock in the price, you lock in the payment. If rates go higher, you got a payment that you love and you can deal with. Rates go lower, we can refinance. The important thing is that you have the house. And that's something you really have to pay attention to in this market, because across the country, as the weather warms up and spring sets in, more and more people are going to come into this market. And we've all seen that this market, we faced inventory challenges, and this spring and summer is going to be no different. And if rates do go lower, the people who were sitting on the sidelines are now going to jump into the fray as well, which is likely going to create more demand, which is going to continue to push prices higher and potentially create challenges when it comes to bidding wars and multiple offer situations, et cetera. So just keep this in mind, because again, markets move, markets change. We don't control what they do. We can just make you aware of the things that are going to happen. Again, this morning, we're going to have continuing claims, initial jobless claims, and we're going to have producer price index numbers come out, all of which could be market movers. And given the information that we've seen so far, you got to be cautious, because again, rates go higher faster than they go lower. The market gets jittery when it doesn't know how to disseminate information. So again, if you like the house, you like the price, you like the payment, pull the trigger, move forward, because this holding out hope that rates are going to go lower, well, right now, we're not there yet. The things are not in place for the rates to start going lower. And the reality of it is they're not going to go lower overnight. It's going to be, if rates indeed are going to head that far, it's going to be a slow and steady march for that to happen. Who knows how far and who knows when, but the reality of it is today, the market is the market, the price is the price, the rate is the rate. If you can make the payment, lock in your deal. If things get better down the road, your loan officer will help you refinance and take advantage of the pricing. As always, questions or comments, it's Mike, impcoaching.com. We'll talk to you again next week. Take care.